So, yeah, it was like, and they're like joking about how their mom's new husband doesn't like the heels of bread, so she freezes them. And like,
yes. Oh my God.
It just felt very, very real. And like, I don't know. And Roman is the reason that they got that moment, because Roman ran home. I know, we got to stop.
This is taking up a lot of time.
Oh my God.
We were
the one who left.
I don't know what to say in these situations, because you guys feed off each other and you keep going. I'm not trying to say it's bad.
That's why we have a podcast.
That's true. But
I've decided this is going to be a very confrontational episode.
I'm here for that.
This is going to be a very contentious episode. People are going to be like, why do they sound so mad at each other in this episode? And you're never going to get to know.
The notes on the wiki is going to be like, people think that they had a big argument right before recording this episode.
Well, no,
Chris
you're totally
tried to quit the show.
Chris kept getting up to refill their drink. And
then being like, why are you talking about not Animorphs when I get back? You guys are so unprofessional.
Okay, I won't ask about the new season of Survivor either, Chris.
God.
I guess you don't want me to ask about it.
I don't. I don't want you to ask about it.
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Katherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddy.
And I'm Chris.
And we are the Anidorks.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
So what do you think of
7:40 right now?
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, it's on tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought you said it was recording right now, and I
We're
was like,
gonna
wait,
do
is it?
7:40 right now.
A draft for the three of us before we start, right? I'm just kidding. I'm just watching.
No, I already started, yeah, so. I also know you two have your draft without me, so, like,
I know
you don't
that
have to
Eddy
lie to
didn't
me.
invite
Eddy.
our other co-host to a draft.
You don't have to lie to me.
I almost went, it's a Philly draft, but I'm not in Philly. But the intent is to be in Philly, so.
Two of the people in the draft are not in Philly.
Who?
You and Santiago.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I was like...
It actually is an edge case. Like,
yeah.
That's what they call me.
all right. Nice.
I don't know what that means.
Nice. I don't know what that means. They're like, should we lock her up? I can't tell. Should we commit her?
They just keep edging on whether or not they're going to incarcerate me. It's like, it's no fun if we do it all at once. You know what I mean? Like, we got to, it's like, ooh, will we, won't we? I don't know.
Good cop, edge cop. Like,
Okay, who wants to read chapter
19? I don't know.
I'm so fucking pissed at the both of you. All right,
I can
I'll
do
read
it.
it.
No.
No, I'll read it. I'm so fucking
I'll
mad.
read it.
No, I'll read it because you're going to make a fucking joke of it, Eddy. All right, chapter 19. The gang, still in Hammerhead morph, enters the Yeerk underwater base. They arrive in a rectangular pool, a docking port for the submarine they'd seen earlier. And so they'll need to morph into something else. They'll need to morph into something more comfortable to explore. But what morph to choose? Birds would stand out? Maybe flies. Before they can decide, an alarm goes off. Other hammerhead sharks rush past the kids in response to the alarm. The gang is curious to learn what's happening to the sharks, and so they follow the creatures into an increasingly narrow passage until they are all forced into a single file line. Line leaders are picked. One by one, each shark is snatched up out of the water by a metal claw. Cassie gets taken first, followed by Marco. He watches as a robot arm injects a needle into the back of Cassie's head. Next, it drills into her head, then pokes a probe into the hole, and finally cauterizes the wound with a laser.
Ugh.
Marco has no time to react before it's his turn. The pain is excruciating. He and the others are dropped back into the pool that they arrived into. They wonder what just happened to them. Was something just injected into their brains? The alarm goes off again, and they all experience a rush of pleasure, a kind of shark pleasure, as if they'd all just caught prey. Then they noticed that their shark brains were observing complexity and detail that sharks don't normally notice. These sharks are smarter, the kids realized. The Yeerks are mutating the sharks, altering their brains for some reason. Axe puts it together. They're changing the shark brains to make them accessible to Yeerks. Why, I oughta. They're making shark soldiers, almost like Hork-Bajir of the sea. Oh, chicken of the sea? Is that the joke you're going for?
No, there's no joke.
Oh.
That's what you're saying.
Tuna, the Hork-Bajir of the sea.
Bringing back a Jessica Simpson moment long past.
Oh, man. Put me out with the what is it? The something and the bumblebee salmon. It's a line, and there's a really manipulative mother in Bye Bye Birdie, and she's like, I get it. I'm nothing but trash to you. You can put me out with the something and the bumblebee salmon. Like,
Timer started. Wait, timer started and paused. There
okay.
we go.
So a lot of things happen in this chapter. Marco gets a really good Lunchable line. So, like, when they're going into the line, they're like, we should follow them. Nothing bad could happen. He's like, maybe we're heading to the new Oscar Mayer shark meat Lunchable plant. He says, hammerhead slices, American cheese, crackers, and a cookie. Which, you know, after the Cove, really hits different. No. That was dolphins. But
that was a very dark joke.
Yeah, I'm probably going to
movie I've not watched in a while.
But I thought that was like very classic Marco, very like, oh, we've got some. So there's still a Marco under all that trauma. You know what I mean? You just got to peel back the layers.
Peel back the shark layers.
Peel back the shark layers.
I don't think there's. Oh, go ahead, Miranda.
No. I was gonna say they all just seem weirdly chill about the fact that they got like they're freaked out, but they're like, oh, I guess it's fine that they shoved something in my brain. Like.
Yeah.
It's tremendously horrifying. It's tremendously not okay that they got in the line. It's not okay that they all got the brain implants. It's not okay.
Which is why I think it's fine that this happened, because they're never going to learn unless they have increasingly awful things like this happen.
That's right. They have to learn through doing.
The walls narrowed and they were like, keep going. We got to find out what's happening to the sharks.
How do you turn around at that point, though? If it's getting like, how do you get back out? Like,
watch from a safe distance. Like,
yeah. I don't know why'd they have to get in there.
I don't probably.
They were like, whoa, everybody's getting in line. I want to do that too.
Oh, peer pressure. Yeah. I'd have morphed a smaller fish or something. Who was last in line?
Because
probably Jake.
Because there was time. I get that Marco was taken by surprise, but there are 6 of them. Why did they all have to get picked up by? I guess it's
You're
hard
totally
to
right.
Yeah.
You're totally
in line.
So Rachel says, let's follow them, but Cassie is the first to get picked up, and then Marco, and then...
They can thought speak. They don't even need to see what's happening to the first person.
Right. They could have sent one person
wanted
in,
to
and
be slaughtered.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, it says he's too. It sounds like it. The last one we hear about seems to be Tobias. Like Tobias seems to be the last.
It's
one
about as careless as when they got in the truck ship with no plan.
That's a good point. Yeah, they don't have good underwater based strategies or above ground water based strategies.
Yeah, once they have to deal with water, they kind of just lose their fucking mind.
Like, what if they were all just cut open one by one, and this is how they died? Like, that could have happened. Like
that could have been.
That could have happened. And they would have been right to do it, the Yeerks.
Yeah.
I do like Cassie being the one who notices that the shark brain is doing something wrong, as they put it so beautifully in the PDF, or not in the PDF, in the text files that we have. The shark is getting schnarder.
Oh yeah.
It's just I love that typo. RN for M is like one of my favorite.
I didn't notice it.
You
the shark
highlighted
gets
it. Schnarder.
Yeah. Schnarder.
Oh, I did,
You know what, though? I like the idea of a little RC shark, though. Like them putting these little, like, receivers that can give him pleasure and stuff. And it just really took me back to, like, you know, waking up on Christmas morning,
I'm just
opening
experiencing this over again. The snorter.
Snorter. No, it couldn't have possibly been that I said something funny. This podcast is fucking over. Would it fucking kill you to pay attention to anything I say?
Nobody cheered when I opened the coconut.
We're not talking about Survivor right now, Ed. We're talking about fucking Animorphs.
Chris is such a goat.
You're right. I'm the greatest of all time.
You're right. No, RC cars, opening them up on Christmas morning, and I assume you were going to follow that up with running over your sibling's toe? Was that where you were going? Or
you know what? I wasn't going to talk about the bad times, Miranda. I already have a public statement about how sorry we are for your toe. If I need to do another press conference, we can push back chapter 20 another week. We can do it. I can.
Wait, you ran over Miranda's toe with an RC car?
Of course.
20 years ago.
She was like walking around while I was driving.
While you were trying to drive an RC car in the house?
It was specifically, it was this crazy one, and we got to look up the name of this. It had did it just have two giant wheels, or did it have more wheels for stabilization? It was like two giant wheels. And it just went ripping across the floor, and it could like spin in place.
So what it could do was it had two giant wheels and then like a little tail, and you could stop it abruptly, and it would flip itself over, and the tail would launch it up into the air. Supremely dangerous.
Pretty neat though. I had a Sky
I thought you were
Dancer,
going to say supremely fun.
Oh, yeah.
Supremely fun as well.
I
like
had a Sky Dancer, though, which is the ones that you launched off the base. So, like, we had all the great, dangerous 90s toys.
Their toys were better in the 90s.
It's true. If you weren't at risk for removing a part of your sibling with it, was it really bad?
What I will say, I was trying to jump over you, but what I will say is, I'm joking. I don't know if I was, But the battery charging thing, you would get the toy, and then the batteries would be like, they need 8 hours to charge, and then you get 20 minutes of like RC time. Yeah. All right. So back to the matter at hand. We have
size
RC.
Of the head.
We've gone into their subhole. We've got like RC shark.
We're in, Chris, you described this as an abattoir, and I just love that because I love that word. But
I'm going on abattoir soon, and I keep getting it mixed up with abattoir.
But also, another great word that's in this chapter, we get festoon.
Festoon.
Wonderful word.
What's the sentence?
Let me see.
The word festooned means as follows, and that's the sentence.
No,
it's a vocab word for this.
We turned a corner into a second room, and up rose a robot arm festooned with tools whose purpose I couldn't even guess. I was like, this is a take it back to your teacher word. You know what I mean? This is a
teacher, something horrifying's happening in this chapter, and then she's just like, oh, festooned means. Like,
how did this? This is a moment where I think they were trying to incorporate vocabulary words.
Yeah, a little bit.
Totally,
but also, why is Marco using it?
He's a reader.
He's a wordy boy.
He picked Fellowship of the Rings.
That's true. Yeah.
I wanted to say, when Cassie's getting injected with the thing, they asked her what happened, and her first guess is that it was an immunization.
That's what she did.
And I think she, in that moment, created a generation of millennial anti-vaxxers.
No.
I'm wondering.
This is the microchip vaccine. This is the origin.
Microchip vaccine.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And unfortunately, in this book, it's real. In real life, I did not get superhuman intelligence.
No, and it also didn't. You couldn't ring
day.
a bell and just make me happy. Like,
right.
I wish.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't work that
Eddy,
way.
you had said size of the head seems to be important. We do get a bit of lore here that Axe thinks that they are trying to alter the physiology of the brains of the sharks to make them hospitable to Yeerks. He mentions them being small and simplistic. So I don't know if it's like a combination of the actual size and the level of thought, or if it's both separately.
It's like they want the shark's autopilot to be better.
They also say...
they want it to have lane hold or whatever.
They also say that they need to give them ear canals, which settles, in my mind...
So silly.
In my mind, it settles like a long-standing question that I've had, which is why do Andalites have ears when they don't seem to have natural predators on their planet that they need to be able to hear, and all their communication is done through thought speech? And the simple answer is we wouldn't have Visser 3 if they didn't have ears, because apparently you need ears.
Imagine, though, taking, like, little human ears and just putting them on a hammerhead shark. Like, where would you put them? Would you put them out by the eyes so that they're, like, way out here? Or would you, like, go back to the gills and put them just in front of the gills, and then they come out and there's that T shape?
Maybe on the back side of the hammer?
On the back side of the hammer, so pointing backwards.
Yeah. They say he says they would have to they would have to add ear canals. But crucially, I don't think they would really have to be functional ears. I do think they would just have to be holes into the brain.
It's like a Yeerk hole I could just have a Yeerk hole. Yeah. In fact, I do. And that's why I was voted most Yeerkable of the podcast.
That's true.
It does say the natural shark brain is too small, too simplistic. And I don't think we've encountered the simplistic matter before. No,
that's
right?
like a new drop.
Yeah.
Also, right after that, they say that they want them to sort of be, I guess they don't say, I guess I said the Hork-Bajir of the sea, but they want them to be the Hork-Bajir of the sea. And I just we mentioned it at the beginning of this book, so I don't feel too bad bringing it up a little bit, getting a little ahead of myself, but I really feel like the difference between Visser 1's Hork-Bajir of the Sea plan being brain control sharks and Visser 3's being jets on Hork-Bajir in little diving suits really highlights like a key difference in their management style that I think makes Visser 3 more fun.
Like in Visser 3's like, we'll do horses. Yeah. We'll have horses in the desert. We can, you know what? Let's do horses this time.
Let's do horses.
Let's do horses.
Yeah, he's definitely more fun to work for than Visser 1.
Except as we will learn, you might die. But
I think Visser 1 at the very least, doesn't tend to kill their coworkers.
Visser 1 is a competent boss, but not a fun boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kicking is a valid management strategy, as we will soon find out. All right, shall we move on to Chapter 20?
Yes.
The kids need to get out of the water and explore the base more. They decide to morph into flies, but once Marco starts his morph, he finds himself in horrible pain. This has never happened before. What could it be? He can see Rachel morphing just in front of him. She seems to be fighting something mid-morph, almost like there's something obstructing the process. Marco tells everyone to stop morphing. The Yeerks have clearly injected something into all of them, and whatever it is, the thing is larger than the fly morph. Morphing into a fly will kill them. The Animorphs have a new objective: get these objects out of their heads. And because they can't morph anything small, they'll have to go loud this mission. No sneaking. They'll split into 2 teams. Rachel, Cassie, and Jake will create a distraction. Rachel's pumped about this. She wants to smash. Wait. She wants to smash. Okay.
She wants to smash.
Marco, Axe, and Tobias, on the other hand, will go search for some way to remove these objects from the inside of their heads. This idea that the implants don't morph, the idea that you can morph tight clothing, but not something that's literally in your brain, I just don't.
I know. It feels very game-breaking, and I feel like they're going to have to walk it back.
And they literally say it's 2 inches. They say it's a 2-inch chip. Mm-hmm. He's like, my head was about 2 inches wide, but it couldn't get any smaller.
If you had a 2-inch chip in your human ass brain,
that would be horrifyingly painful. Yeah, that would be really bad, actually.
Yeah, I really don't think it would be good.
I'm almost disappointed that we don't get to see what Marco saw, though, when Rachel was more I feel like something was stretching inappropriately during the morph process.
Yeah, he sort of says that her head was oddly shaped, but
explain that. Ed, take that one back. Why did you? Now you're a writer. Why did you choose the word inappropriately?
Well, just in a way that made Marco uncomfortable to watch. You're
leaning into it. I gave you an out. I gave you a way out.
He's right, though, that Marco can't even describe it. He says, seeing a morph is always horrifying, explains that you kind of get used to it, and then says, but what I had just seen floating past me in the water was worse.
Let the record show that Eddy, the defendant, did not move to correct himself when
there's
prompted with
appropriate
the
stretching
chance.
and inappropriate stretching, and
Hey, I think you're making it worse.
This is bad. Yeah. This is a podcast for dirty children. I don't know. It's
it's not. We need to explain it. It's not.
It's actually for adults only.
I recorded that disclaimer for episode 1, and we've been using it ever since.
It's true. If you have sensitive ears that are not big enough for a Yeerk yet, you should not be listening to this podcast.
You could not handle a 2-inch microchip
Slug.
getting
What the
inserted
hell?
into your
my
brain.
God. Oh, way to pause. Anyway.
Oh. Oops.
All right, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm going to a squeaky clean podcast called How to Get My Yeerk Clean by Chris Baldy's, a podcast story.
The only other thing I want to mention is Jake gets just, I think, he's so right, so good, very clearly put. Good job, Jake. We can't have this. Period. We cannot have Yeerk control devices in our heads. We're underwater with implants in our brains and psychic Lyran aliens running around. This is seriously not cool.
Yeah.
He's so right.
Yeah, it's like
so
we just
right.
came back from a commercial.
But also, they could have avoided this. I know we've covered this, but this became a lot more complicated than it needed to be.
They didn't have to get the shark implants.
Yes. Also,
you know what I mean? There's lots of things you can do. You can try to develop your muscles underneath. You can do.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I would yes and that bit if I understood what the fuck was going on with that. And what I'll say is, I do think that there's exactly one literary reason, like Miranda pointed out with the Andalite ears. It's just to keep them from morphing flies, because flies would stop the moment that's about to happen from happening.
Or even cockroaches, or possibly
right.
even mice. Right.
Frankly, the fact that we have to morph cockroaches and flies so much, it's like you know when you realize the show you're watching doesn't have a big budget, so they do the same thing every time, and then you're like, or they use the exact same footage for the Zord morphs. Yeah, exactly. And you're
you
just
mean like
oh my God.
What's it called? Revolutionary Girl Utna with that.
Shut up! They did what they could. It is it is an amazing show. They had.
I loved it.
Also,
for the
if you're talking
listeners
about
at
climbing
home,
up those stairs, that is a crucial part of every episode to get you ready for what's about to happen.
Every fucking time she goes up, every time she goes up those stairs, you're a different person.
Exactly.
And frankly, you as a viewer need time. Okay, that's fair. Actually, that's really fair. But that's what scared me about the Power Rangers as well.
When my girlfriend turned into a rose bush, it was really alarming at first. But by the time we get to the top of the elevator, it's always her again. So it's fine.
It's always her again. And then I just pull that sword right out of her.
At that point.
Somehow it doesn't kill her. That it comes right out of her ribcage.
Well, it's glowing.
It's fine.
It's glowing.
It's glowing.
So,
And then eventually she gets to take a sword out of me. This is an equal exchange type of thing.
Yeah, it's true. We're reverse.
Yes.
I want to talk about Jake's decision here. One, I don't think we properly got into this. After what happened in the pool, we got into a whole thing with Rachel when she did less in book 12. Well, no, she was morphing randomly, I guess. That's not true. But should
You
Marco...
mean book 12, the best book of the series?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
when
that.
Jake tried to pull her from the mission, but Rachel insisted on going along. Here, Marco almost ate a bully in a pool at school.
That's true.
His mom's on this mission. And not only does Jake go, okay, but you be careful, Marco. The only person who knows that Marco has a personal mission, a private mission going on here. And then he splits himself up into a different group.
Oh, that's a really good point, actually, that he can't keep an eye on Marco this way.
And he lets Marco go explore while he creates the distraction. It's almost
He's
like
basically like, Marco, go find your mom.
Yeah, I think he kind
that's
of
a really
is.
good point. Yeah, but it's like, it's totally unfair that we were so hard on Rachel in the like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what we're talking about here. It's
She
like,
did destroy her house because she...
That was not her fault.
Yes.
she was sneezing, Eddy, and she sneezed
She
so
had
hard.
allergies.
She had
was
allergies.
allergies. Ever heard of them?
Crocodiles.
Yeah, so also we get soaked Tobias on Rachel's shoulder.
Boys
Yeah.
don't sneeze. Boys don't sneeze, Ed.
Boys don't sneeze, girls don't fart.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Boys don't cry.
That's yeah.
Boys don't sneeze.
Boys don't cry. Boys don't sneeze. They are incapable of feeling in that part of their face. They're very closely related, the parts that make you tear
They
up
have
and the parts that make
sinuses
you
of
sneeze.
rock. Yeah.
Should we move on to
I think we can move on, yeah.
21? Okay.
Yeah, all right. Done. I'm clicking the thing.
Chapter 20.
clicked it.
Okay. Chapter 21. Marco.
Did you feel it? I clicked it.
I did
Was that good
feel
for
it.
you?
It
I
was
clicked
weird.
it. Yeah.
You know, speaking of this sort of thing, I just learned about, what were they called? Love sense?
Oh
Toys?
no, just read the chapter.
Just read the damn thing you wrote. Jesus Christ.
Chapter 21, Marco and Axe join Tobias as burbs. They fly up to the rafters of the underwater base and try to decide where to explore first. There are two buildings that seem like the obvious places to start. Marco suggests the one that he knows his mom's inside, having spotted through a window while they were still sharks outside the base. Jake has already made a terrible mistake here. When Jake begins making a commotion in Tiger Morph, a taxon retreats inside the building containing Marco's mom. Marco follows the taxon through the door, zipping overhead. Tobias and Axe
Zip lining? Wow, crazy.
Just here for the zip line.
I know that reference.
Tobias and Axe are close behind. They make it through the door unseen, but the three boys are going so fast that they have trouble stopping. They go down one hallway and then another, deeper and deeper into the building. I really considered not including this part because it actually doesn't seem to make any difference in the plot, but we do get it mentioned.
It does happen, yeah.
Marco and Axe demorph. Tobias becomes human. They find a door with a golden symbol, almost like a presidential seal. Marco tells Axe to keep watch and pokes his head inside the door. "Come in," a voice says. Marco freezes. The voice tells him to come in again, adding that he won't live if she has to ask again. He enters, closing the door to hide Tobias and Axe from view, and then walks across the room to the big desk in the center. Behind the desk sits Visser 1. Marco's mother.
I'm going to
This
say...
chapter has so much momentum.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we're not just skipping it and going straight
Yeah.
into the next
I'm gonna
chapter.
say, though,
but
given that she said he'd be dead if she had to say it again, I'm surprised she isn't killing more people. Like, it sounds very Visser 3 like, do I have to repeat myself, I'll kill you. I do want to say they mentioned that hawks and ospreys and everything, like, the heads are big enough for the chips, and they're talking about what won't be obvious because they're kind of the sneak team. And Marco says, besides, people have a tendency not to look up. And I just want to say, for the record, that gamers never look up.
Yeah.
you really should clap while you do it.
I know. They don't. Gamers cannot look up. It's the one place they cannot look. Go on any Twitch stream, watch somebody get stuck solving a puzzle where the answer's on the roof. It happens every time. Like,
I think it's that looking up, frankly, scary.
right? You don't know what's up there.
What's up there? And if I never look, I'll never know.
And personally, I do inverted controls, and people find that very frightening, I've found out.
I don't know what I do anymore. I'm probably old. Yeah.
I
You're definitely old.
Inverted y-axis specifically, x-axis uninverted.
How do you mean, Ed? How do you mean? You're the same age as me. Are you comfortable with being old?
I think you're a few weeks older, actually.
A crucial few weeks, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. They really age you.
I want to talk about this. So I had Eddy take me to the Ren Fair last week.
Oh.
Or a couple days ago. When was this? I don't fucking remember.
Sunday.
We gotta go.
It was like 2 days ago. Yeah. And when we were at the Ren Fair and Eddy was waiting in the car so respectfully, I talked to a falconist.
The
falconologist. A falcologist.
Falconology.
I talked to Edie Falcone, actually.
Yes. And I was speaking with this Falcren engineer, Falcgeneer, And
I think it's just Falconer.
Dr. Falcon.
You sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous. The both of you sound ridiculous right now. It's obviously Falcon-Gironologist, astronomer. But the point is, I was talking to them. Apparently, what we call hawks used to be called buzzards, and it's like a very new world thing that they got a new common name. And
because I think of buzzards as vultures.
Vultures are a different classification yet. Apparently, like they just came to the new world and were like, these things are like close enough and like blah blah blah. But in the Elizabethan, who's the queen at the thing? Elizabeth?
It depends on when you go.
No. Ed, who was at the thing? Who was the queen?
I think it was Elizabeth, yeah.
I've seen it be Elizabeth. Okay. The last time I went, it was
point...
Catherine of Aragon, but it's still the same.
Mary
Queen of
Scots for the fucking
Mary Queen of Scots was also
tickets.
There, so I think it was Elizabeth.
Oh, that would be Elizabeth. Yeah.
So anyway, but apparently in the old world, in the old country, they called them buzzards. So there was a red tail. I got to see a red tail buzzard very close up, and I yelled, "Tobias, can you hear me? Tobias,
can you hear me?
Hear me,
Tobias, can you
see me? Hear me?
We didn't even think about the fact that they might have been Yeerks.
He Shatnered it.
Crucially, I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but we did Tommy, and Chris lost their voice.
I lost my voice early on in the run.
They always did a show in like early May, which was the worst for your allergies.
It was bad for allergies, but also I wasn't holding back. We get to this one line. It's like one of the highest things I have to do in the show. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to talk this one.
Tommy, can you hear me?
Tommy,
Christ.
Can you hear me?
You Shatnered it. Good time.
We should talk about, this is Axe, Marco, and Tobias, a kind of unusual group, unusual trio.
And yet, they've had a scene together already in this book when Marco went out to the woods to talk to Axe and Tobias showed up. So they've sort of been established as like a little group this book.
Yeah.
I don't even want to ask, but who were the groups in book 14? Because they were weird, too. They were like a weird split. It was like Cassie.
It was Cassie, Marco, and Jake, and Rachel, Tobias, and Axe.
Rachel, Tobias, and Axe. That's a boring group. That's a bad hang. Because Rachel and Tobias are going to be like doing the thing.
Well, we had the exact same thing where it was Cassie and Jake going through the tunnel of love, and Marco was just there.
Yeah.
He does like to date a couple, it's true. Yeah.
Makes you feel secure on both sides, you know what I mean? You
get
to sleep in the middle.
Yeah, and they never see it coming. Like, you just hop onto the bed and they both make these shocked faces.
How do we feel about Visser 1 putting this presidential seal on her door?
Oh, you mean like arf arf?
I don't know what. Like arf arf. Have you ever seen Crazy Stupid Love? It's not like a good movie, and there's some deeply problematic things in it. But I believe their pronouns are they them now. But at the time, I don't know what they're going by now. But at the time, they were going by Annalie Ashford. They were on a season of America's Next Top Model, and they're playing this character, and someone asks her something, and she's like, "My lips are r," and the person's just like, "What?" And she's like, "Seals. My lips are seals."
my lips are seals.
I'm like,
do you
it's
remember
lived
that
with
song?
me forever.
Our lips. What was it? Our lips. My lips. Our lips are sealed.
Nope.
It's like a Hillary Duff song.
Oh my God, Hillary Duff.
I don't remember.
Our lips are sealed. Is the song co-written? It's co-written. It's a Go-Go song.
It's the Co-Rogan podcast.
It's a Co-Rogan Go-Go's.
Annalie tipped it. Annalie Ashford is a different person altogether. She's a Broadway star.
But I swear there was a Hillary Duff cover.
I also want to talk about Tobias says,
what are we talking about?
You people have bad eyesight. No longer grouping himself with
yeah. He's like, how did I live like this for so long with these shitty eyes?
Yeah, we also get an acknowledgement of that at the outset, too, because he's like, so me, blah, 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 like, Axe, blah, 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 and Tobias, who's as Tobias, right? Like, because it's like me as this bird, Axe as this bird, Tobias as
let me look.
Which is kind of like Marco's way of acknowledging that. Like,
yes. A few minutes later, I was in Osprey Morph. Axe was a Northern Harrier. Tobias was Tobias, and we were all wet.
Yo, I have to talk about. Yeah, dude.
A wet bird is not a happy bird. I can tell you that.
I think a wet bird is a good demonstration. I think if you hold that bird underwater, it's not wet.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
I really think it's wet. But what I want to talk about is some taxon verbs because we got some.
Taxon verbs?
So taxons who wither. What is it? But we get some taxon shuffling down the hall before they fly into the room.
Writhing and shimmying.
Writhing and shimmying. And it's just like you just imagine like.
Didn't Marco shimmy earlier in this book? When he was
shimmy heavy
like
book.
Marco.
He shimmied up the vertical shaft when he was trying.
Pressure walk. That's what it is.
That's what they called it.
Yeah,
but. Anyway, I love when a Wiggly Boy comes on the scene. And then they did this thing that was so mean where the doors are too small for the Wiggly Boys, so they have to like stuff themselves through. And I was like, damn it, the Texans are so cute.
Someone's gonna line up behind them with a hammer to like punch their little. It's like Pooh. It's like Pooh when he goes. It's like Pooh goes visiting or something. Is that it? And you have to tug him out.
There's a couple of lines I actually just want to quickly hit. There was no one aboard but a couple of taxons doing maintenance work, once again with the wrenches, implied wrenches.
Very cute. It always implied wrenches.
We get big mistake, Tobias pointed out, no windows. I guess it never occurred to them that they might want to be able to see around inside of this place. The only windows look out into the water. I just want to point out again that they're a deeply paranoid species. We know even the Council of 13, they won't even know who the Emperor is. And yet they don't have windows. They just have all the faith in the world that they don't need windows.
Genuine question for you. Do you think anyone on the Council of 13 knows they're the Emperor?
I don't know.
Because my guess would be that you wouldn't know even if you were. And thus you should assume you are.
I think we've
it's beneficial to you.
Yeah, I think we've had like some level of conversation about this before. It's like, do they all act as the Emperor? Like they all sign off on documents and like make decisions, but only the one who's actually the Emperor. But somebody has to know. Somebody has to know.
Somebody has to know.
Okay, I think we have yet another Anidorks project for ourselves. I haven't played Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yep.
But I think there has to be a social deduction game called Council of 13.
Council of 13.
I think we can make this.
This is what we are doing this is what we are doing the next time I see you.
Yeah, I think we can do this.
We can do this. We
will have to come up with some other roles though for like other people to have on the council. Someone will be the knower. You know what I mean? Someone will be the person who knows.
Wiggly Boy.
Yes,
in a goblet.
I think that there are multiple knowers who know conflicting things.
Right.
I think it's like, yo, dude, no, it's definitely one of these two are the Emperor. And they're like, yo, I have my eyes open during the fourth phase. I know it's
you. Like,
exactly.
And they're like, I only open my eyes because he told me. That doesn't mean it's true. They rotate who opens their eyes on the fourth phase each night. Don't you know that? Only the Emperor would know that, asshole.
Because
I must be the fucking Emperor.
Oh, yeah. Maybe the Emperor also has to figure out that they're the Emperor before.
It's like some combination of like Avalon, where you know who you are, and like the game with the names on your head, where you're trying to figure out if you're the Emperor.
Exactly.
Like everybody knows somebody else's role.
Yeah.
But you never know your own role. And so you have to try to hook up with the person who knows your role. Like
it's like Clue, but you could be the murderer, but you're gonna find out clues. Right?
That does technically, that happens in Clue. It could be you.
No, wait. Oh, it could be you, but it has no consequence on the gameplay. But in this game, it would have a consequence on the gameplay. And you'd suddenly have to like switch into an obfuscation role of sharing and you'd be able to share cards as you discover.
And it's like everybody gets to pick someone to die each night. And so if that person dies, you don't know if it's because you decided they should die or someone else decided they should die. And
guys, I think we need to cancel the rest of the book.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have time. I'm dead serious. Like, I think we need to get Keith on the line. I think we need to start workshopping ideas. Like, this is a real idea.
This is a real idea.
Yeah.
I think it is, but I do want to finish the book.
I do think we should, unfortunately, I think we should finish
Mom,
the book. Oh my God. I said this was going to be a confrontational episode. Go to the corner.
I'm so fucking pissed at both of you.
Can you bring your mic with
go
you,
to the corner to be, I will be fucking further away. Here I go. I'm going to the corner. Stomp, stomp, stomp. I'm in the corner now. Can you hear me back here? Can you hear? I can't hear you. I'm in the corner.
Miranda, you also have a noise that could make adults want to crawl in bed with their teddy bears and pull the blankets over their head.
Yes, and I want
Thank God I'm
everybody
in
to
a
know.
throuple.
I want everybody to know that will not protect you from a tiger, because that's how he's describing a tiger's roar. And I just want you to know that may give you some comfort in your final moments, but it will not protect you from the tiger. It will, however, protect you from the imaginary putties from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers hovering over your bed
yes.
with knives. I can confirm that they will protect you
That
from
one's
that.
real. That one's real.
Yeah.
I think it'll help with the tiger in that, like, it'll take an extra nanosecond for the claw to shred through.
It gives you
your teddy
one
bear.
moment. Yeah.
Because I sleep, I don't know about you, but I sleep with my stuffed animals all up around my neck.
Wait, can we address the fact that we were like, this chapter has so much momentum and yet we've used all of our time on it?
We got distracted.
Nobody even remembers that we're about to meet Marco's
Right, we
mom.
just
And
met
Frank-
Marco's
yeah.
mom, which we're about to
Yeah.
continue in chapter
right now.
22.
Chapter 22. I hit the timer. Let's go.
Whose turn is it?
One of
It's
you.
me. Marco and his mother are reunited. Kinda. Marco stares into his mother's familiar eyes, only sensing Visser 1's easel gaze on the other side. He's wondered if maybe some of the nights that his mom kissed him goodnight, could the Visser have been there even then? But the Visser's presence is so obvious inside of his mother right now. Could she really have masked that much evil? Marco knows not. Visser 1 says that she was expecting 4 technicians, not just one. Marco says, I'm as good as 4 technicians any day, lady. She
Have you heard
thinks
of big,
Marco is a
sexy
human
technicians?
controller. Nice. She thinks Marco is a human controller. At first, Marco can only stare back at her. Surely his mother must be inside Visser. This is actually semantically very confusing. At first, Marco can only stare back at her. Surely his mother must be inside the Visser, screaming his name. And then Marco finally speaks, saying that Visser 3 killed the other technicians. It's a stupid lie, Marco thinks, but it works. Visser 1 believes that Visser 3 must be trying to sabotage her. Marco gulps. He can hear Rachel, Jake, and the other one. I'm going to take that line again. I had a saliva thing happen.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
He can hear Jake, Joel. One more time. He can hear Jake, Rachel. I'm dyslexic.
Do you want
He
us to
can
change it to
hear-
Comic Sans again?
That would be really helpful. He can't hear Jake, Rachel, and Cassie fighting not far from the room that they're in. Visser 1 comments that those Andalite bandits are creating... This is amazing. Are creating trouble once more. Marco can only nod. Visser 1 says that Marco needs to learn to control his host better. Surely he has realized that his host is Visser 1's host's son. But her host is screaming and crying inside. But Visser 1 isn't phased in the slightest. Do you want to rewrite it and I'll take it again?
You just
'Cause now
don't
that
want
it's
the
Comic
first butt
Sans-
there. You just don't want the first butt there.
Got it.
One
Okay.
butt only.
Her host is screaming and crying. Her host is screaming.
One butt
screaming. Her host is screaming, not creaming, and crying inside, but Visser 1 isn't phased in the slightest. Her control over her host is unflinching. Marco is overcome with hate, but he suppresses it. Visser 1 goes to take care of the Andalite bandits, saying that she'll soon have 1,000 shark controllers at the ready to invade Lyra. She says that Visser 3 will be arriving soon. She wishes those pesky Andalite bandits would just do away with him already. Visser 1 leaves. Axe and Tobias are no longer outside the door to stop her. He's relieved. He was worried that Axe might kill her. Oh, there's more. Fuck. Then outside the window, Marco sees an enormous yellow snake-like creature coming straight for the facility.
Straight for this phallus.
Straight for the facility. Visser 3. It's Visser 3. The big penis is Visser 3. We knew it all along.
Always.
Comic Sans is much easier to read for me.
But it seems to do something
we
with
always
like
forget.
the
size is different. Yeah,
capitalizations.
in Google the sizes and the fonts are not perfectly locked.
No, I think actually there are typos hidden in the other font because the other font has an upper and lower case that's really hard to differentiate.
That's true.
So I think, like, no offense, Eddie, your typing sucks shit. And
I think I thought that it was all just always capitalized, so I stopped even hitting shift because
I think you've just been found out.
I'm trying to remember. I guess that's what's happened, yeah.
No, I'm just
So
being
I
weird.
really love
We're fighting.
I really love that Visser 3 killed them is a believable lie for any problem that could come up. It's like, oh, the delivery's late. Visser 3 probably killed him. It's like,
You really don't want to have a reputation like that.
Also, she just threatened to kill
Boys
him.
don't sneeze. Boys don't sneeze. Boys don't sneeze.
She just threatened to kill him if he didn't come in, so she can't really talk.
I agree. Yeah, I missed that sort of on my reread, how violent she was. I was like, look at this. Look at the civility versus Visser 3's kills everyone. And then it's like, if you make me say come in again, I'll kill you. And I'm like, oh, maybe they're kind of cut from the same cloth. Like,
Do we think that Visser won? Like, when do we think she was Yeerked? Because the book doesn't answer this. How long? Like, was that Visser 1 kissing him goodnight, or was that his mom?
I think at the very end. Probably. Maybe the last few months. But I don't think it was a supremely long time.
It's a really interesting question, too. Like, do you mind if I, just...
Yeah, go for it.
Take my little brain out for a second here? So it's like, this human body becomes the most important person in the Yeerk invasion, as far as we know, right? Visser 1 is the highest rank.
Yeah.
So they chose Marco's mother. That's cool, but then... Who, why? First of all, why? And then, the other thing, maybe it's just super bad luck.
Yeah.
But then, at the same time, would they risk putting a high profile Yeerk in someone who wasn't safely behind the firewall, right? You wouldn't put a Visser 3 out in the field, right? So I kind of think it's a strong argument for if there ever was a Yeerk in her before, it would have been a lesser Yeerk, but then at that point they would have been worse at acting and we would have had a Melissa with the dead eyes situation.
Do we know what Marco's mom did?
No. And I have this is related to this. I have this pet theory. I don't know what she did, but I do believe that proximity to her husband's job as an engineer who has previously possibly worked with the military, because she said the thing about don't take military contracts. And that made me wonder, and I may have said this then, I wondered if she was related to someone, if her dad was a big military person or something like that, or even if she was possibly in the military herself. But then I think disappearing her doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because wouldn't she be more useful?
Yeah.
Also, wouldn't we have heard about Marco's identity as a military brat? So it's I think I find it hard to believe that wouldn't have come up in
but I think it makes more sense if it's a father or a grandfather, just being related to someone who's high up in the military, not necessarily that she is.
Understood.
But I did say that it could be her, but I think she must be related to someone that got them very key information that she then went, okay, I've gotten the most important information I can get out of this body, and now I'm going to leave with it. But it does feel weird, because it feels like if she's close with someone who's so important, they would have wanted to keep her in place, a la Chapman, or not Chapman, a la the guy they were trying to make governor.
Right.
And I don't know.
They faked her death.
They
They went to the lengths to have it be like a boat crash. People go missing all the time. It's almost better if you don't have any evidence, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm not saying that, I just, it's really confounding.
Do we think, okay, possible theory, but I don't really think it's true, but just an interesting idea. Could Marco's mother, in a moment of gaining control of the body, have tried to kill herself by sailing out to sea and stranding herself?
It's very dark. It's very dramatic.
And then
I like it. I like it as a fanfic.
Other Yeerks were alerted to the attempt and saved Visser 1.
Yeah.
From certain death.
That's a fucking dank ass fanfic. I need you to write that.
Yeah.
I need that.
I kind of think
on my desk. No, I'm just kidding.
And I think Visser 3 and Visser 1 may have actually been closer at some point, because
Lovers,
Visser 3.
Obviously. Lovers.
Yes, because Visser 3 came up with the boat accident thing.
They used to be Lover 1 and Lover 3.
Don't you think? It's so dramatic.
Where's Terrain?
I also,
so good.
do we think that maybe Visser 1 just liked that Marco's mom had movie star good looks, and also
Maybe she's very pretty.
we do hear about
No.
the Yeerkly swagger.
No.
The
Oh, did you think she
gonna-
was going to try to seduce people?
I
I just thought maybe she just like the look of her, you know? Like maybe.
That's possible.
I'm going to take a very, like, I feel like I'm one of our fans emailing him right now. I'm going to take up that end of the thing. Why would a Yeerk know what
an
is
attractive human is? That's a good point.
Yeah. And they got Alaran, and they literally were just like, oh my God, we got an Andalite. Like, Alaran probably looks like whatever. He probably is
Alaran
like
was
an average
actually
Joe.
famous, though.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's hot.
No, but like they knew who he was when they got him.
That's true. That's a good point because he had
fought on the Battle of the
Heard about any
Hork-Bajir.
hot Andalites?
Maybe Marco's mom had like been a part of the defense on the Lyran planet, and we just didn't know that.
It wouldn't make any sense, but
Marco's
sure.
mom. No, but check out this nonsensical plan that makes no sense. That's totally wrong, and I can hear CJ typing right now. But like, I'm just. What if Marco's mom? Maybe it wasn't a quantum virus. Maybe it was like a black hole that they unleashed. That was an illegal war black hole.
Oh,
that
Marco's
they
mom
threw at
worked
a
for
planet,
CERN.
committed a horrible war crime. Exactly, just like Alaran, and that's why she's Visser
Oh, okay,
one.
so you're saying like Yeerks are picking people who've committed war
Like
crimes.
mother, like son is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
I got you. There are some really great lines in here. Marco says that he wishes he could have said something to her and told her that he's not a controller. Because, like,
horrifying.
Marco's mom leaving this situation believing her son is a controller, like, really kind of broke me on the inside.
Yeah, same.
And he says that he wishes he could have said something to her. And he says, but that would have been fatal. And I'm not someone who does emotional, stupid things. Sometimes I wish I were. And that's like, I just like, oh my God, that like, they're trying to kill
brutal.
me. They're trying to fucking kill me. Like,
Yeah. Well, what does
This book is devastating.
What does this mean for? So we talked about how Marco is like Rachel, and I actually feel like this is a moment that shows how Marco's not like.
yeah, this is a moment where Marco's wishing he was more like Rachel, I think.
Yeah, what was the joke though? Because like,
Well, it wasn't
that,
a joke.
I think
It was that Marco.
Oh, right. The premise was that like Marco and Rachel were being treated inequitably in that Marco has a much longer Jake leash than Rachel does, or whatever.
Oh, but this was
right?
even earlier
No.
that we talked about their willingness to. Miranda, help me remember. That they
was
were
like
willingness to
it
kill
was
or
about
make.
how they were both down in like deep down inside they were very similar, but they externalized like their trauma in very different ways, where Rachel became very aggressive and Marco became very much a jokester.
Oh yeah, and they're
And,
keeping up
like-
appearances of a certain kind. They feel pressure
Exactly,
to play
like
a
they're
part.
very about keeping up appearances, but the way that Rachel does it, I feel like Marco is saying here he views as maybe a bit more honest than the way he does it in this moment, because he's like, I wish I was the kind of person who could just say the thing. And he doesn't say it here, but like, I feel like he has said that Rachel is the kind of person who would just say the thing. And so
She's a
like,
little bit more bold or brash or impulsive.
She would be at high risk of getting killed here.
absolutely. She'd be
Like,
at high
yeah,
risk of outing
yeah.
them all. And he knows he can't do it. And he doesn't. But
And this is why
then-
it doesn't make sense that he hasn't won Survivor yet. He's always a first
It's really
food,
true.
But
But we're in the early seasons still.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
we get to Survivor 2.0, a Marco's gonna shine.
Yeah.
All right, so then he sees Visser 3 out the window, and I'm picturing, for some reason I put it in the text of the next one, but I'm picturing Metal Seadramon.
Right, like that's awesome. Yeah, oh my god, you dropped it in the notes. That's fucking lit as hell. And you can see those notes if you subscribe to
Exactly.
our Patreon.
You can also just Google Metal Seadramon.
That's also true.
does not get enough recognition for how many morphs
Seadramon,
he's
I
collected.
agree.
He's
You're
so
totally
impressive.
Right. And
He's
also,
constantly making extra stuff.
his
Here's a new-
rocket-propelled Hork-Bajir
Yes! He's brilliant.
are
a
all
visionary.
wearing matching red
He
diving
is.
suits, and I am surprised Marco does not bring up costumes again. I'm like,
Yes.
this was Marco's moment to be like, Visser 3 gets it.
In our musical, like there will be a song where they're both singing about the importance of
Costumes.
and they don't,
Pageantry.
and like Marco knows
at theater
that.
camp,
Yes,
they bond over costumes.
and Marco the whole time is like, I need to just live through this experience where I'm singing with
Oh
Visser
my god,
3.
wait. Oh my god, wait. Marco learned to sew because his dad's life went to shit and he learned to fix all his clothes.
Darning his socks.
And so
Yes,
he becomes the
exactly.
costumer at theater
Yeah.
camp.
Yes, 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 Yes. I love that we made a process podcast about us writing a musical. I think that...
But Visser 3 definitely designed these jetpacks and maybe even made them himself for his Hork-Bajir, right?
They're not
Definitely.
jetpacks. Crucially, they're attached to their ankles.
Yeah, but think about it this way: if you get little little thimbles on their hooves, they can sew with 6 different appendages.
Yeah.
Ooh, good point. Good point.
You know,
There is something else I want to talk about here. One, I want to hit the thing, Miranda, that you said, just because I think it's really important here, that because of this interaction, Marco's mom, as Visser 1, walks away from this interaction believing that her son, probably her worst nightmare, the thing that she was probably at least hopeful about when she got lost at sea, or that's the story.
It's even sadder if you realize that she
nightmare.
did it on purpose, like I said.
Yeah, and she believes they still got to Marco. But,
yep.
okay, now I want to talk about,
I think we should just pause for 5 minutes and let our audience sit in devastating silence and let that just sink in. Because reading this book, I was literally closing it and being fuck off.
Yeah, there were
I was
moments that I had to,
I just have to say,
no.
there were moments where I was I am an adult who does a book podcast with my friends and sibling and friend, sibling and friend, non-sibling, sibling. Oh, now I'm embarrassed. But the point is, I literally am reading this book and being I can't do this. I can't do this on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I can't do this
It's
right
a fucking
now.
Tuesday, dude.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, all right, back to you, Ed. Are you ready to move on?
well, no,
Let's do
I
it.
think that I want to talk a little bit. I feel like this is the most important chapter, right? So
I'm inclined to
agree. I could spend a lifetime here. I'm just trying not to talk too much.
Should Visser 1 be more suspicious that apparently her host's son was Yeerked and no one told her? Wouldn't that cross her desk as should we Yeerk Marco?
Would Visser 3, who is currently in charge of the Earth invasion, want to tell Visser 1 or even know that Marco was Visser 1's son? Call on Chris, please.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you so much. I just have one quick anecdote. It's a question, more of a statement. I just think incompetence in a bureaucratic organization such as the Yeerks, I imagine she never looks at a roster.
That's true.
I really do. I think deep down it's actually conceivable that she would know from the person inside's reaction, and that may even be something you get a pamphlet about, what to do when your host body is freaking out because it meets someone it knows. It's they have a name for the disorder. It's called friends and family
Tardive
disorder.
dyskinesia.
Yeah.
You may experience uncontrollable muscle movements due to a host's knowledge of.
Yeah.
I also kind of like the idea that maybe she should ask more questions about this, but instead she's just so proud of the fact that even when her host's son walks in the door,
She has a lid on it.
To overpower her host. So it becomes
she's
this
just
ego.
You're uncomfortable because you're a shitty Yeerk who's in my son's body. I get it. I get it.
Even when it's so insignificant that it happens to me because I have such impressive control over my host.
Right.
For the record, this is how Visser 1, this is why I read her How to Run a Small Business book over Visser 3's, because Visser 3 would have already killed Marco for being incompetent. And Visser 1 was hey, as a person who made it to Visser 1, let me give you some tips about how important
I'm here
it
to
is
help others grow, you know?
Exactly. And meanwhile, she's hearing outside utter commotion.
That's
and
true.
she's
We're
"But
hearing
I'm
the
still gonna
distraction.
Yeah.
and I'm going to still take the time.
Oh my God, she has these little moments of you hear her screaming and bashing, and she's just we're having a little problem with the Andalites.
Wouldn't it be fun if her Yeerk son or Yeerk child was inside of Marco?
Wouldn't that be so cute?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that
And
be
then
so
she
cute?
could
Be
hug
bring your kid to
Marco,
work
but,
day every day.
My host isn't hugging your host. I'm hugging
I'm hugging you.
Yeah.
All right.
That's actually so fucked up.
Sorry.
really weird.
That's so fucked up.
It's like ghost sex. It's like possession sex. It's really
It's
weird,
possession
actually.
sex, but it's even worse. It's like possession cuckold. Like
Ooh,
it's
yeah,
like
that's
it
true.
really is.
Cuckolding, yeah.
It's really bad. Like it's
I like
actually,
platonic cuckolding, and I want to talk about it more, but I do think we need to move on.
We do need to move on. But this isn't platonic cuckolding. This is way more brutal. This is like that's
is
deeply
familial
disturbing. So we are
cuckolding.
just moving on.
All right.
We are just moving on.
So she
We're not gonna
leaves
talk
the
about
room
that
to go
anymore.
deal with the Andalite bandits in chapter 23.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!